Hey everyone, we're about to talk about a really big change that's happening in the world of AI, like right now. We're seeing a massive shift from AI simply knowing a bunch of stuff to AI actually starting to think. And believe me, that changes absolutely everything. So let me just start with this question. What if before an AI spits out an answer, it could actually pause for a second, reason things out and plan what it's going to say? Well, that's not science fiction anymore. It's really happening, and it's what this whole explainer is about. You have to understand, for the longest time, the main goal with AI was basically knowledge compression. The game was to take a gigantic slice of the internet, we're talking trillions of words, and just cram it all into one giant model. The AI wasn't thinking. It was really just an incredibly powerful pattern matcher, making a very educated guess about what the next word should be based on everything it had ever seen. But that whole approach, that philosophy of just go bigger, always bigger, well, it's run smack into a wall. Actually, it's more like two walls. And this is what people are starting to call AI's scaling crisis. So this old way of doing things, it's called pre-training scaling. The playbook was super simple. If you want a smarter AI, you build a bigger model and you shovel in more data. And look, it worked. For years, it worked unbelievably well. It's how we got amazing models like GPT-4. But that strategy, well, it's just not sustainable anymore. So here's the first wall, the sheer cost, what some call the CapEx ceiling. Just look at this number. We're talking about a future where a single training run for a next-gen model could cost over $1 billion. $1 billion. I mean, who can afford that? Only a tiny handful of the biggest tech companies on the entire planet. And the second wall is the data wall. We are, and I mean this literally, running out of good, high-quality data to feed these things. We've pretty much scraped all the useful text off the internet already. So even if you had $1 billion to burn, what would you even train the model on? The old way is just hitting a dead end. Okay, so if making models bigger and bigger isn't the answer anymore, what is? Well, it's a whole new way of looking at the problem, and it's actually inspired by how our own minds work, this idea of thinking fast and slow. This new paradigm is called inference time scaling, and the big idea is pretty profound. Intelligence isn't just about how much you know, it's about how you use what you know. So instead of trying to bake all the intelligence in upfront during training, we give the AI more time and more computing power to think right when you ask it a question. This is the perfect way to think about it. The old AI was pure System 1, fast, reflexive, that gut reaction. This new AI is all about adding System 2. It's slower, it's deliberate, it's analytical. It can literally create a private chain of thought to work through a tough problem before it ever gives you the final answer. All right, so let's really break it down and put these two approaches head to head. What we're really talking about is a shift away from just valuing knowledge and toward valuing the process of reasoning. Now this chart, this is really interesting because it lays out the whole story. The thinking process goes from just reflexive to deliberate. But check out the money part. We're moving from a huge upfront cost, that's CapEx, to a pay-as-you-go operational cost, or OpEx. The goal is no longer just to stuff knowledge into a box, it's to enable actual reasoning. And maybe most important of all, look at accessibility. This opens the door for everyone else, not just the tech giants. It's democratizing. Now, let's be fair, the old way isn't going away completely. Training a model from scratch is still a big deal. It gives you total control. It's really the only way you can create brand new foundational capabilities, and yeah, it gives you a very valuable piece of intellectual property. But honestly, the advantages of this new inference time approach are just huge. A smaller model that can think for longer can actually beat a model that's way, way bigger. It uses data more efficiently, it's accessible to smaller companies, even smaller countries. It can adapt its thinking to every single question, and it can even be safer because it has time to double-check its own work. So this huge technical shift is, no surprise, causing a huge economic shift. And I love this analogy for it. We're going from a world where you had to own the bank vault to a world where you just pay for the electricity meter. Seriously, think about that for a second. The old way was like building a massive bank vault. It's a gigantic, super high-risk, one-time investment. The new way? It's like a utility meter. You pay for the thinking you actually use right when you use it. This just completely flips the business model for AI on its head. And this table really hammers the point home. The financial risk of a massive training run is insane. It's basically a coin flip. It could work, or you could lose everything. But with inference, the risk is much more manageable because it just scales with how much it's used. And your return on investment? It's not some far-off dream. It happens right away, every single time the AI helps a user solve a problem. So here's the bottom line, the crucial economic takeaway. The center of gravity is shifting. It's moving away from the act of creating the AI through training and moving toward the act of capturing value from it by using it to think and solve problems at inference time. So what does this all actually mean for you, for businesses, for the real world? Well, the implications are huge. We're talking about massive new opportunities, but also a whole new set of risks. One of the coolest things to come out of this is the rise of what people are calling sovereign AI. Think about it, because you don't need $1 billion anymore. Any country or any company can grab a powerful open source model and then use these new techniques to fine-tune it to their own language, their own culture, their own laws. It's a massive democratization of cutting-edge AI.
Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But this new power isn't a free lunch. Giving an AI time to think also brings a whole new set of tricky challenges that we have to figure out how to handle.
Okay, first, latency. All this thinking takes time, sometimes seconds, maybe even minutes. That's a total non-starter for anything that needs to be real time. Second, the cost can be all over the place. A really hard question could make the AI think so much that you get a surprise bill that's way bigger than you expected. And finally, and this one is tricky, the reasoning it shows you might just be an excuse it made up after the fact. It can rationalize its answer, which gives you this false sense that you know what's going on under the hood. So let's just pull this all together. It's pretty clear a new era of AI is upon us. We're finally moving past models that are just good at repeating patterns, and we're entering an age of models that can actually reason, plan, and solve problems in a much more flexible and powerful way. This whole shift just blows the doors open to so many new possibilities, but it also leaves us with one final really important question. As we start building machines that can reason more and more like we do, we have to ask, who's responsible for teaching them not just how to be smart, but how to be wise? That's something to chew on. Thanks so much for tuning in.